Okay, we have seen a lot of presentation from MDAs and ministries in terms of what they want the Ministry of Finance to give them. But one thing that comes out clear is the late disbursement of funds, and also this year you made mention that ministries should be innovative in terms of sourcing revenue for themselves. The main focus will be shifted to that of the big five. Can you just take us to why some of these delays and why do you prioritize the big five?
Thank you very much. Of course, the delays are not peculiar to Sierra Leone. As you see what has happened in the world for the past 4 to 5 years, the poly crisis started with COVID, the lingering effect. We have the supply chain disruptions, war in Ukraine. All of these things keep hurting low-income countries. And when these things happen, and because we are also dependent a lot on the external world, those negative adverse effects of the crisis also disturbs the Sierra Leone economy quite much. So it means we cannot collect as much revenue as we would like to collect. And because we get most of our assistance again from overseas, if the globe is facing all these kinds of economic problems, it means even your partners cannot give you as much as they were providing before. So to a large extent, we have to depend on our own domestic revenue to carry the country's agenda forward. And like the Deputy Minister also alluded to, just as we are wrapping up, we also went through an election period this year. So you find that during election periods in African countries, mostly you expect things to slow down, come into the elections, and then after the election, you go through a transition. And for us, we had a law and all of these things. So all of these has affected economic performance of the buoyancy of the economy for it not to move as we would have loved to. So that's what affected disbursement. So that's why you see the slow pace. But despite that, we've tried to ensure that the core responsibilities of government in terms of its mandate, we're able to get the ministries running, we're able to pay salaries, schools are running, hospitals are running, the security services are functioning, right? And we're honoring our debt service payments as a country. So we'll still try to keep things running, though not as much as we have loved to. So that's why we encourage ministries now going into 2024. Don't just look for what you come in to ask Ministry of Finance to provide for your budget, but also think of innovative ways you can also raise revenue to support the budget, because we are going into a big program in 2024.
Okay, they have made plethora of requests, and majority of these MDAs surpassed their ceilings, which was given to them by the ministry. How can you address some of these going forward?
Well, we have to rationalize. So that's why we are discussing. One area is to really try to identify why the excesses, why are they asking for more? Are those areas that are asking for, are they really aligned with the priority of government for that particular period of time? So we rationalize, we ask questions. So now we open up to the public, even the public has had the opportunity to ask their own questions. So also as Ministry of Finance, we also have to sit down, again, look at these proposals, and then we see whether the projects that are there, the programs that are there, are they really aligned to the overall objective of government? If they are not, we take them off, right? Or if we believe they can bring in more resources, if we invest in such programs and whatever, we can still take them on board, and then we try to make sure that they are effective in bringing in more resources into the budget so that they can be fully financed.
There's another thing that we noticed, which has to do with the Ministry of Lands and Housing and Country Planning. Over the years, they received disbursements, but according to them, the money that they generated in 2023 surpasses what they received, and now they are pleading to that of the Ministry of Finance to give them 30% of every revenue they generated. Going forward, are you looking to that? Because now you just mentioned that you are encouraging them to be innovative in terms of revenue generation, and the Ministry of Lands has done that so far. Are you looking to some of this play in giving them the 30%?
We are not against that. Government, of course, we have agencies that we call Treasury Single Account agencies that do collect revenues on behalf of government. They deposit into the Constituency Revenue Fund, and then we have an arrangement wherein a share of that revenue is given to them to carry out their mandate. But the ministry will be like a peculiar case because they are a ministry. They are a ministry, so they are not like an agency. But the good thing, we have like a commission that has now been established under the Lands Ministry, the Land Commission. So perhaps they might want to devolve most of those functions to the commission. The commission perhaps can better administer the collection of those taxes, and then we can pass on some portion of the revenues to them to defray their overheads and pay. For me, anything that will bring less burden to the budget is something the Ministry of Finance look forward to. It's not about just adding on more expenditures and then you cannot defray. So if the Ministry of Lands have set this as an example for us, it's a pilot. Let's see, we'll work with them. Perhaps not start immediately in 2024 because they might need to put systems and structures in place to make sure that this thing works. Right? We need to engage with them to make sure that it works. So they will have to wait until once we get all of those structures in place, they will help them to pass the necessary legislation that will enable them to administer these revenues, and then they will to retain them.
You're talking about finance and that's your plans. But let's speak about the economic effects on the common Sierra Leoneans. And you do mention that we have gone through an election, huge amount was spent, and now we are trying to recover from that process. And Sierra Leone economy is donor driven as well. But this year we have not seen a lot of donors or what have you to support the government. So how can, moving forward, what are your plans in terms of pushing the economic effect?
Well, we have lots of social protection programs, which the government plans to institute in the 2024 budget. Because, like you say, we are aware of the effect, especially on the vulnerable, of this crisis going on. So most of the discussions we've been engaging our partners on is to see how we can really cushion the effects on the vulnerable. So there are services that government needs to provide, especially like on transportation, provide effective public transport facilities for the farmers, cash transfer, food for work, all of these things. So things that we believe will help the vulnerable people to at least be able to absorb the shock of this economy. Because most of these things, they are not created by governments. It's global. And it's not something like any government will sit and say, I want just things to be difficult. But once they happen, the government needs to design programs. So you check all the sectors that are really affected, the social sector. On the schooling, the free education, we still need to perhaps to continue to scale up spending there. On the school feeding, the school transportation, school bus. On the health, we still continue to provide the free healthcare, drugs, you understand? So if people get sick, they can get medication easily from the public hospitals. You pay the health workers well, you pay teachers well. So these are the absorber, the cushion effect that government will put into place to make sure that at least this global crisis hurting everyone will at least not be too adverse on the lives of the vulnerable Sierra Leoneans.
Finally, what would be your message to Sierra Leoneans? Now we have had a lot of promises from MDAs, beautiful budget presented so far. Then the ministry is planning to go to a retreat. What are we expecting in terms of pushing or transforming the economy?
Well, firstly, for me, for the Sierra Leoneans generally, I always believe that we have to take the ownership in transforming our country, just like our President, His Excellency, always put it to us. That we have to change this country. And if we go to other countries, we admire what is happening in Europe, in America. It is people who are doing it. It's not people from everywhere. It's their own citizens that are doing it. So us as citizens of Sierra Leone, we can still change. We can still bring in the necessary changes that we want to see. And how would that start? Is by your own responsibility as a citizen. Pay your taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, the government cannot function. So all those areas that we sensitize the public as to where government will get revenues, that you see there are leakages, that is hurting the state. It is the responsibility of us as citizens to bring that up, right? If we say, for example, the businesses should use electronic cash machines to pay. You as a citizen, if you go to buy in a supermarket or a shop that is registered for GST, you cannot compromise with a vendor to say, I will pay you, pay 5 if I don't use my machine, but if you pay 7 if you use the machine. When you do that, it's government you are cheating, and you are cheating yourself as a country. You understand? So these are the things. So how we will not be able to change the situation if us as citizens don't actually comply with our own laws that we pass as a country. So let us be law abiding, and on the economic side, let us do those things that we know will bring resources for government in the budget. And of course, you leave that to government now to make sure it is street programs that will benefit. We'll do the roads, we'll do agriculture, we'll do the education, health, all the facilities, energy, water supply projects. All of these things will be done within the shortest possible time, as long as the resources are there, and we don't have to wait for donors to come and give us before we do them.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.